Hello everyone, I just wanted to come in here and sneak away for a minute to have a minute to myself and share a really amazing testimony that I remembered today. And I also want to shout out my new friend Ruby. She's 19 and that is the age that I was right before I got saved and my entire life changed. So I'm so excited to know her, and I wanted her to be the first person to hear this testimony. I don't remember how old I was, but I had already been saved, so I might have been 20 or 21. And I live in Michigan, and my grandma lived in Florida, in Bonita Springs, Florida. And I went to visit her and stay with her for a while. I think that she wasn't doing too well, so I think we went down there to kind of take care of her. So we were going to be there for a little while. And I wanted to find a church down there, but I didn't know which church to go to because I was realizing that not every church is as, passionate about the truth. Not every church is the same. So I prayed and I asked God to show me which church he wanted me to go to. And so the same day that I prayed that and asked God to show me which church, me and my mom and my stepdad went to Walmart and we're just buying groceries. And we were about to check out and my mom was like, "Oh, we forgot something." And my dad's like, "I'll go grab it. You guys stay right here." And we were right by the purses. Now, if you know my mom, she doesn't usually buy herself purses. She carries a purse, but she's not into like just going and getting purses. You know what I mean? I'm not really either. I don't actually carry a purse at all. But so we were just by the purses, and while we were waiting for my stepdad, while he was grabbing whatever item it was, I think it was actually milk. She was like, "Okay, I'm just gonna look at these purses right here and wait." And so she ended up finding a purse she liked and buying it. And when we got back to my grandma's house, they unloaded the groceries, yada yada. I went into the room that I always stayed in and was just hanging out. And my mom's like, "Hey, look what I found in the purse I just bought." And she gave it to me, and it was a track card. If you don't know what the track card is, it tells a little bit of the gospel, or it'll say a little bit about God with like a picture, and on it will have the church address that it's from. And I was just like blown away because let me remind you, this is the same day I prayed this prayer, and it just so happened that we almost forgot an item. My stepdad had to run back because we were about to check out. He had to run back and get it, and we were right by the purses. It all happened so incredibly perfectly. It was all God. And I just remember being like, "Wow, God, this is amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for answering me." And answering me in a way that, like, my parents witnessed that, And they didn't want to go to church with me. I had to do things kind of on my own, but I think I ended up talking my mom into like going with me to that church because I was like, "Mom, you can't make me go to a church for the first time by myself in Florida." And so that was the one and only time she ever went to church with me. And she actually didn't really enjoy the message for certain reasons. But yeah, I ended up going to that church, meeting some amazing people, a woman named Vera, who we kept in contact for a little while. My niece had also been on the trip with us. She's 4 years younger than me, and we ended up getting invited to like this tea party at the church, and we went to this tea party, which was so interesting. I'd never done anything like that, but it was cute and it was something to do. And I ended up telling Vera about how I learned of the church, and it actually was the closest church to my grandma's house. It was so close to her house, and I had never thought to go there, but and I can't remember the name of it, but you know what? So anyways, I ended up telling Vera about, the card that my mom found in the purse, and she was like, oh yeah, we have a whole table of those cards, and people just like pass them out, they can grab a stack and, take them with them and pass them out. And I was like, are you serious? Like, I want some. I want to pass them out. So I took a lot, and I was like, is it okay if I take this much? And they're like, yeah, please do. And even after the fact, I think even after we came back to Michigan, like I said, I kept in contact with Vera and asked her to send me more of them. And I have like 3 of them in my bedroom right now because I still have some. So let me go grab one and I can show you, which church it is. So what's it? So my son is 9 years old, and he loves the Lord, and he loves to put these places too, and he loves to give these to people too. And so you'll see it's probably going to show like reflected, so backwards, but it says, most religions focus on man's attempt to reach God, but Jesus is clearly God's attempt to reach man. And I have 3 of them. I have 3 of them, just so like they're accessible. I had them in my room. And this side says, God will have all men to be saved, for there is one God and one mediator between God and men, the man Christ Jesus, who gave himself a ransom for all. 1 Timothy 2, verses 4 through 6. And then it gives John 3:16 through 17. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. For God sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. And at the bottom, it says Gospel Baptist Church and School, Bonita Springs, Florida. That's just one testimony of God just doing something so amazing and answering my prayer and remembering things like this. I'm 33 years old now. This happened when I was probably 21. I couldn't have been 22 yet. Those things that God does will stay with you your whole life and encourage you. When you're having a hard time, you can remember, like, God spoke to me. The Creator spoke to me. He heard my prayer and he answered my prayer. And it was within a day. There's really nothing better than that. I want to tell one more testimony. I have so many crazy things that God has done, but I want to tell one more testimony, and then I want to say one last thing. When my husband and I were struggling financially, like really struggling, like thought that we were going to get evicted and everything. Oops, someone's calling. Have to call them back. We had to sell our BMW, and my husband really loved his BMW, but we had to make the hard choice to sell it. And so we put it up for sale, And one day I had this crazy weird feeling, like so weird that I was just like, something's wrong, but I don't know what it is. And I'm thinking, and I'm like, what is wrong? What is bothering me? And so I just went into my office and looked out the window, and I was like, God, what is it? Like, are you trying to tell me something? Because something ain't right. Sorry, I just said low battery. I got a lot of interruptions every time I try to record a video. So I asked God, like, what's going on? Why do I feel this way? What are you trying to tell me? And he literally, like, dropped it into my head, like, what he was trying to tell me. Boom. I was just like, okay. And what it was he did not want me to sell the car to a specific person. And I knew that my husband had already wanted to sell the car to this person because this person already showed interest in the car. And he was just into, like, cars and into BMWs, and I think he had a Miata, and he just worked on cars, and he would, like, race cars, like street racing at night, and just for fun would just go out drifting in parking lots. And so my husband was kind of like getting into that kind of stuff with this person, and I didn't really care for it, but I wanted my husband to have fun still, you know, something he enjoyed, as long as he wasn't getting into trouble and not being dangerous. Well, you know, I told my husband this, but at this time, he wasn't very receptive to, you know, I don't think he was really receptive to hearing me out that, like, hey, I don't know why we shouldn't sell it to Mike. I didn't really want to use his name, but I didn't know why God didn't want us to sell it to the specific person. I just knew that he had told me he didn't want me to sell it to this person, or he didn't want us to sell it to this specific person. So my husband went ahead and sold it to that specific person. And I'm actually kind of glad he did, because it ended up showing why God didn't want us to sell it to this person. And it made me be like, mind blown again, because it was confirmation that God gave me this message. And right when I asked him, like, let me know what this crazy feeling is and what you're trying to tell me. But so fast forward a couple of weeks, I'm like, I got over that my husband didn't really listen, and we had our second child. My baby girl was born. I think this was, I really can't describe the time frame, but I think that we sold the car right before I had her, and maybe a week after I had her, a week or 2 weeks after I had her, is when this happened. We were up late watching something. My husband could tell you what we were watching, literally, some movie. And the police just, you know, are driving up and down the street, shining their lights in the windows after we heard them, like, chasing someone down the street. Didn't know what was going on, you know, but we didn't live in a great neighborhood either, so it wasn't kind of abnormal for them to be, like, chasing somebody. Not somebody on foot, somebody in a vehicle was running from the police. And so we didn't really think much of it. I think we were kind of half asleep. I was very exhausted, as having just recently given birth. But it wasn't until the police started, like, shining their flashlights in our windows that we were like, what is going on? And then my husband gets a text from the guy we sold the car to, basically saying, don't say anything about it being me. And I'm like, what is going on? And he's like, he starts realizing that the guy we sold the car to had ran from the police in the car. They tried to pull him over and he ran from them. He technically waited for them to approach the vehicle and then he took off. And the car is pretty fast. So, I guess he decided to just drive right down our street during the police chase, and he got away. He successfully got away from the police. And the police did not like that, come to find out. They did not like that they didn't catch him. But then my husband informs me that he never took the license plate off the car. So the police automatically think, oh, the car's registered to my husband and I, and that makes sense why my husband drove past our house, but in actuality it was the person who we sold the vehicle to. So we didn't know the extent of what was going on, really, until a few days later when my husband got arrested for it. And there's no proof of sale other than text messages, because he sold it to his buddy. Yeah. So I had a newborn baby, and my husband was in jail being interrogated and pleading with them to believe him that it wasn't him. But let me tell you, the guy we sold the car to has curly hair just like my husband. Kind of like froed out, a little bit curly. Even though the guy we sold the car to, he's a white man, my husband is mixed. They didn't get a good look at his face when they were approaching the vehicle. It was nighttime, and he took off as soon as they got to the back of the vehicle. You know what I mean? So my husband wasn't just facing fleeing the police. He was also facing assaulting a police officer, because when a police approaches your vehicle and you speed off, that's dangerous. You could injure them. And when you're running from the police, you could injure people. There was some serious charges, and we had to get a lawyer. And if you remember, we had to sell the BMW because we were financially struggling. So with a newborn, I had to ask some people for some money. That's something I don't do. But ended up, my mom helped me out. Some of my husband's friends helped us out. Yeah. Shout out to Gucci, shout out to my mom. Really came through. And my husband's other buddy, Mike, helped out too. I had the worst week of my entire life trying to take care of my newborn while trying to figure out how to get my husband, how to prove my husband's innocence, and figure out how to put money on commissary to talk to him. And yeah, I was sick. But we hired an amazing lawyer, skateboard lawyer, Jordan, what's his last name? I'll put it in the description what his name is. He's an amazing lawyer. He showed the court text messages to prove that the car had been sold, but the plates had not been retrieved from it. And after everything's said and done, we look back and we are like, wow, God tried to warn us. God warned us. And it's an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing when God literally speaks to you and loves you so much to literally tell you things. I'm amazed by him. The last thing I wanted to say was, a friend had told me, this was when I was probably around like 25, and I was living in Virginia at the time. A friend had called me and told me that they believed, a Christian friend, they believed that I had the gift of word of knowledge. And I was like, what is that? I've never even heard of this. And they explained what word of knowledge is. When you get this word, God gives you like this word, or the Holy Spirit gives you this word for somebody else. And I'm like, that's crazy cool. Like, but I don't know, do I have that gift? Whatever. Anyways, the next day, I go to work, and God gives me a word for somebody. And I woke up like, hey God, if you wanna show me what this word of knowledge is, like, let's do it. I'm not one to talk to strangers, but God changes things, so I had began to get words of knowledge for people. Specifically, a girl had worked right by me, and God gave me the word mother for her, and she ended up being like, well, that's crazy, because I've been trying to get pregnant for like 7 years. And I'm like, okay, well, we can pray. And she ended up getting pregnant. And she ended up telling me that when we did pray, that she felt something different moving within her body. And she didn't tell me that she felt something until she came to work a month later and was like, guess what? I'm pregnant. And it's seeming to be like I conceived like either the day or the day after or the day after that of us praying. And she was like, and I wanted to let you know, I didn't tell you this at the time because it was kind of weird, and I'm not used to people praying for me and like touching my stomach, but I had felt something weird, like different, when we prayed. But anyways, that was amazing, and God just started to do wild things. Like, God does wildly cool things. One time at work, God was like, I want you to pray for somebody. And I was like, who? And he's like, well, start walking to the bathroom. And I was like, all right, which bathroom? And like, I'm not hearing him audibly. Like, it's more of like telepathically, kind of. And so I start walking to the bathroom that is not in my department. I worked in a warehouse, and I'm just like, okay, God, like, there's really nobody around here. I don't know who you want me to pray for. And he literally like led me to this woman. And I had learned from like watching Todd White and certain people who pray for other people to be like healed of things, like just to go up to people and like ask, you know, do you have any pain in your body, or, you know, are you in any pain? So I walked up to this lady and I was like, hey, the Lord sent me here. I know this seems pretty weird, but the Lord sent me to you and wanted me to pray for you. Are you experiencing pain? And she was like, okay, yeah. And I was like, where's your pain? And she's like, my shoulder. Like, I have to, like, throw these boxes up onto this conveyor every single day for, like, 10 hours a day. And I've had a shoulder injury from, I think she actually said she had gotten an injury in the military. And I'm like, do you want to tell me about it? Like, the injury? And she's like, not really. And I was like, that's okay. Like, cool, whatever. God wants to heal you. Like, he loves you and he doesn't want you to be in pain. And she was like, okay. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. And I prayed, like, for her shoulder to be healed, for her pain to go away, that whatever was going on would be completely healed. And she was just like, I'm like, do you feel any pain anymore? Like, is it gone? She's like, I think so. Like, I don't feel pain. I'm like, all right, well, have a great day. And I didn't really think much of it. After that, I was really filled with joy. Like, it feels amazing to just go out and talk to people and pray for them, and for God to lead you to a certain person who's really struggling in pain. And he desires to do that. That's all over the Bible, that he heals people, and that the Lord was here healing people, and he instructed the disciples to heal people and to cast out demons.